are back. Let's go. Back to the Traits Podcast. We're so glad that you're listening today on episode 2. I'm ready to go, man.
Number 2. It's been fun, getting great response. So we need to give a shout out to all of our folks that checked us out and encourage them to keep telling people about us.
That's right, man. If you are wondering, it's still the same me. This is Kevin. My voice sounds a lot deeper. In fact, I was on a walk with my wife yesterday, and she said, "You sound like a country music singer." To which I responded, "Do you like that?" And she said, "No, I hate country music." So I started singing that old famous Josh Turner song, "Baby Lock Them Doors." And you remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
You keep going. I want to hear this.
Yeah,
Josh Turner. Huh?
If there's any way, I mean, I sound halfway decent today, but no. Anyways, I'm loving the weather. My sinuses are not, but it's okay.
'Tis the season.
It is the season. It just tells me that fall is near, hunting season's near, football is here, and so lots of really good things going on right now.
Amen.
Well, I'm excited about talking about everything that we're going to be talking about today. Specifically, we're kind of going to be going through in these episodes, the traits of a champion. And today we're going to be talking about focus and really talking about that in a deep dive of focus and talking about that in all different ways. So go ahead.
Well, we talked last week that the whole point of the podcast is to remind you that you can win, that you can make a choice and decide to go for a win, to become a champion. And that's what we hope you got out of episode 1. Now we're just going to talk about what are the common traits that when you look at champions, no matter if it's in sports, whether it be a team, John Wooden's teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, any of the dynasty, the New England Patriots, you get into any of the dynasties, Nick Saban in Alabama, you get in the dynasties in baseball, and you look at them, or you look at individuals, MJ, Michael Jordan, you look at the GOAT. What were the common traits that they possessed? You look at people in business, you look at the Sam Waltons, the Bill Gates, you look at any of these guys that are tremendously successful in business. What made them champions? Then you look in ministry, in our world, you look at Billy Graham. And so looking at all those folks and saying, all right, what were the 5 common traits that made people champions? If we're going to challenge people to win and go for the win, what are the common things they need to do? And it starts with focus, Kevin. They've got to be able to have a focus. Champions have a ridiculous ability to be able to focus, and that is rare. As a guy that struggles with focus, it's harder than you think. It's just, okay, well, I'll do that. No, if you identified what you want to win at last week, this week now we'll say, okay, now that's your focus. You've got to be willing to lock in on that and focus in on that. It's kind of it's the bullseye. It's the target, if you will, that you're aiming at.
Yeah, and I also want to make sure that folks understand, and as we've talked about this a lot, but we're not just talking about football coaches. We're not. This podcast isn't just for those folks and business leaders and all those. We use those as examples, but we're also talking about being a champion and focusing on the ground level of just life, at home, in our marriages, and all those things.
With our kids,
our kids,
grandparents.
And I think that's what I love about the principles that we're talking about today is that. And what we're going to really be breaking down today is these traits of focus is that they apply to all of our areas of our lives and in every way.
Yeah, if you want to be a great parent, what parent doesn't want to be a great parent?
Right.
For the sake of your kids, then you've got to be willing to set that as a goal, and then you got to focus in on it. It's not just going to happen by osmosis. You're not just going to wake up today and be like, okay, I wanted to be a champion. I wake up today, oh, there you go, I'm a champion. It don't happen that way. How it does happen is you decide I'm going to do it, and you wake up the next day and say, okay, I'm going to focus on that. I am going to focus. If a athlete focuses on a championship, a businessman focuses on success in a company, then look, you've got to have the same focus to say, all right, I want to be a great dad. All right, focus on that. What are you going to do about it, and how do you stay focused on that? It's the bullseye, right? It's literally saying, all right, if I'm going to shoot, I need to set a bullseye. Otherwise, you're living your life, and where you land, you just draw a circle and say, "There's the bullseye."
Right.
Well, that's really not the best way to do it.
You're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, let's absolutely look downrange, focus, take the shot, and then go for the bullseye. The bullseye is what we should be focusing on, not just landing somewhere and then circling that. You shoot. You do a lot of shooting, right? Kevin's a great marksman, great with his bow. All of the bow and arrow, for those of you who don't know what that is. And how important is your aim when you're shooting?
So, I mean, most people, it's a little bit of a humble brag, but when I was in middle school for 4-H, I won a state championship by shooting archery.
Nice.
And all these guys had these amazing bows and all these target shooting bows. I just had an old hunting bow because that's what I am, just an old country boy that liked to shoot a bow and arrow, and ended up winning a little state championship. Granted, it was me and 2 other guys against each other, but it was fun.
It's either champion, second, or third.
Yeah, that's
no matter
right.
what, you're getting on the podium. That's
right.
all right.
One of us, we all got on the podium, but I happened to get on the top part of the podium.
There you go.
But it was fun. But I learned a lot. In fact, I love shooting a bow and arrow. I've killed a lot of deer with a bow and arrow, and have my whole life. And one thing about shooting a bow is I shoot a Hoyt compound bow, and yes, that's a slight brag for all the you bow hunters out there. You need to be shooting a good bow, and I shoot a Hoyt, and so I shoot the new carbon.
We're open to sponsors.
Yeah, we are open to sponsors, baby. Hoyt, I shoot the RX7. It's a great bow, carbon bow. It's awesome. It's super fast. And anyways, I need to quit talking about that.
Yeah, move on. There we go. Nerding out.
When you're shooting a target, is one of the things that our good archers teach you is before you draw your bow back, before you knock your arrow, before you do anything, you need to have get your feet planted, but have a good moment where you focus on the bullseye, focus on what you're going to shoot at before you even draw your bow back. And then their point is that focus on the target, then draw and aim
and take the shot
and take the shot. And so I think that's important, is before you just shoot, you've got to aim. But the same thing's in life, and that's what we're going to talk about today with focus, is that you've got to make sure that you know what you're aiming at before you ever even start aiming.
Yeah, and the whole idea of just landing somewhere and saying, "Oh, I hit the target," it really is not very fulfilling, and it's not going to help you be the champion that you need to be. If you want to be great in your marriage, you have to focus on it. I obviously am passionate about this, and we talked about this. I obviously wrote a book about it that I'm very, very excited about. It's more of a bucket list, as I told you anything. I'm not an author, I'm a speaker, but it really is a bucket list. But I'm very proud of it because I'm passionate about this stuff. And one of the things we talk about is that if you're going to win and be a champion, first of all, you better have a focus. And then if you're going to get a focus, then we talk about the 5 Ps. And without being, too selling a book, man, the best thing to do is just I go over in the book. But I want to talk about a couple of those.
Let's do it.
If you're going to have a focus, you first of all must understand. It's what I call getting your focus. And getting your focus really starts with understanding some principles. That we are made by God, for God. Now, if you're listening, and again, you're not religious, you're not into spiritual things, Christian things, that's okay. Understand that you have a higher purpose than you, and there is a being, a God that has a higher purpose for you. As a Christian, I unapologetically know that I'm made by God for God. Man, I'm proud of that. I'm excited about that. That helps me keep my focus. It helps me keep my priorities, which is another of the P's. I know that for me, my priorities are God, family, work, and I do sometimes those get intertwined or rearranged. Very rarely. I try to keep my priorities because I'll keep a better focus if I can stay with my priorities.
Yeah, and I think when I think about principles, it's kind of like, you ever heard somebody ask you, why do you get up in the morning? What's your purpose? We'll talk about that in just a second. But really, your principles are not just they're your, what are you doing with your life? Like what are the goals that you have for your life? It answers the what about life.
Well, and not only the what, Kevin, it's the it's kind of the purpose is why I get out of bed. The principles are kind of the boundaries for me.
Yeah. This is what I'm trying to accomplish today.
This is it, and it's really the boundary. So you think about a river.
Yeah.
A river is one of the most productive, powerful forces on our continent or any continent. But if it gets outside of those boundaries, it's chaos and death. Well, our purpose is that river. Our principles are the banks of the river.
That's good.
That keep us focused. That's the word we're using. That keep us focused going down river. So yeah, you're right. It's whenever my feet hit the floor, what's my purpose? And we'll talk about that in just a second. And then the principles and my priorities are really the banks. And the difference between
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the difference between a principle is it's a 10,000 foot view, and then a priority is a ground level. My principles are that, look, I have a higher calling for my life. God has called you to be a champion. The priorities are then, okay, how does that spell out? Well, I'm going to, I've got a ton of things pulling at me, but my principles lead me to my priorities that tell me that, you know what, my main priority, my main thing is God first in my life, then my family, then my work. We get asked to work, those of you that think about ministers, you think we work Sundays and Wednesdays, and, and the truth is we work way more than that. We're on call all the time.
All the time.
And that's okay. That's part of what we signed up for. We love people. We're called out to hospitals, emergencies, deaths, all kinds of things. Fun, I mean, and they're all not only that, but good stuff. We're invited to a lot of great stuff to be around people and stuff like that. There's sometimes I have to say no because of my principle and my priorities tell me, wait a minute. I have a focus of being a great husband. I can't get that out of whack. I can't say yes to work so much that I say no to my wife. That's just not right. That priorities help me stay focused.
There really is an art to saying no, and I that sounds cheesy to say it like that, but there really is, and it also takes. A lot of people think that it takes great discipline to just say yes to everything. But that's actually the opposite of that. It actually takes more discipline to say no. And why? Because you set the principles that you have. And I like how you say it because your principles should be simple. You know, for us, God, family, all the church, all those things in that particular order. Very simple. But, understanding that saying no to the things that affect those areas, I think that takes great discipline to do that.
No, without question. It's easy to say yes to everything. When people are pulling at your time, things are pulling at your time. Hey, you're pulling at your own time. I've got a lot of likes. I've got a lot of things I want to spend my time that I want to focus on. Well, wait a minute. My principle tells me, wait a minute, it's a 10,000 foot view. You better have some principles. Then the priorities is the ground level that says no. It's the boundaries to this river of my focus that it's going to help me stay downrange and stay focused on my bullseye. Because for this particular shot, my focus is being a champion dad. For this particular shot, my focus is being a champion Christian, being a champion husband, being a champion businessman, being a champion friend. These things that are downrange for me, then my principles and my priorities help me to stay downrange and focused.
Yeah, your priorities. We're trying to build something here. What are we building? We're building our lives.
Yep.
I mean, we're building our lives, and your priorities are that foundation to building this life that we're trying to build here. And I love that because I think if people would just get to what we call that 10,000 foot and establish their priorities, then they'll start being way more successful in all the other areas.
Yeah, and again, Kevin, the intertwining that we're saying here is that principles is the 10,000 foot. The ground level's the priorities.
Yep.
It's the here I am down here, God, family, work. And then I've got further things down the list. I mean, I love, we talked about this, I love sports. I love hunting. But those things are further down the list. Now, they're a priority for me because they're a great part. I love to work out. May not show as much as I'd like it to, but I don't do it for that. I do it for the release. I do it for the health. But that's a priority. Why? Because it's good for me and it's a priority. But it ain't ahead. That's bad English. It is not ahead of my work. It is not ahead of my family, and certainly not ahead of some of the other things that I'm focused on.
So let me ask you this question, just out of it just literally just kind of came up in my head. But there's a lot of men that probably listen to this podcast that love their hobbies, and hobbies are not a bad thing. Like there's nothing wrong with hobbies. I mean, like you said, I love to hunt. I love to do all those things. But how do you balance your hobbies amidst
your principles and your priorities? If you're focused on being a good hunter, a good hobby, name your hobby. That's okay, because again, that's fun. It's something. I mean, God has made us to enjoy things.
Yeah,
and we can enjoy things. But that's my river. If I put it ahead of my family, where I'm neglecting my family, I put it ahead of my work, where I'm neglecting my work, then wait a minute, it's outside the boundaries. It's over the banks. It's now a flood, and I've lost my focus. I've lost my focus into what God. So my priorities help me to do that. I have principles, I have priorities, and then I also understand that one of the things that can help this river get downstream is that I better have a plan. And I literally tell folks to sit down and to come up with a plan on how you're going to get better. How are you going to win? How are you going to be the champion? If your focus is being a champion dad, a champion businessman, maybe you own a business, or maybe you work for somebody, but you still want to be a champion in that business, and you should want to do that. Then what is it that how are you going to get there? What is the plan that's going to get you there? It's the step A, step B, C, D. It's the setting down and saying, okay, I want to be a better husband. I'm going to date my wife. I'm going to work on my communication skills. I'm going to carve out time for her. So now I'm setting a plan, but not only am I going to carve out time for her, but here's how I'm going to do that. I had a guy teach me a long time ago that when it comes to being a husband and being there with your wife, is I used to take my drive home from work, from the office, and I would mentally prepare myself to get home. And here's why I say that. Now, please don't let that offend ladies out there listening. No, let me explain. I listen for a living. I have to listen. I'm in meetings. Right. I talk a lot, but I also listen a lot. By the time I get home, my listen meter is full. Yeah. My cup for listening is full. Well, that's not fair to Darla. For me to go home and go, all right, too much, I have to back off that, and I have to be very, very, very careful of that. So I take my time.
She's been waiting for you to get home all day.
Yeah, and so when I pull in, so I have a plan of how I'm going to be a better husband and a better listener.
So good.
So a plan is just simply setting down and coming up with a step-by-step process of you do. So let's do this, Kevin. I don't want to just regurgitate a book to you guys. I want you to understand that if you're going to have a focus, you better understand your principles, your priorities. Then you better understand you need a plan and work the plan. If you're not planning, you're planning to fail. Then understand that God has a path for you. It's unique, it's special, and it's for you. Your path doesn't look like my path, and my path doesn't look like your path. It's one of the things we have to be careful of in looking for our path is we tend to say, okay, I want to be a champion, and here's the path I'm taking. My priorities are the banks that hold me together. My purpose does. My principles do that. Then I've got a plan of how I'm going to get down this river of what I'm focused on. The path is simply understanding the terrain and going with it and understanding. Got some rapids here, got some logs down here. I need to go. I need to get through. We tend to look for the path of least resistance. And I will just say to our people listening, maintaining your focus and being a champion, seldom should you look for the path of least resistance.
And I would also, just to caveat that a little bit, is in the world of social media, in the world where everything, you've heard this statement before, but it really is the truth, that comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah, and you've heard that before. Is that when you're constantly comparing yourself and comparing your life and all that, it can really steal the joy out of life. When it comes to your path, that you and I have worked closely together for a long time now, and our paths are different. And I think one of the things that people need to understand, that especially with the world of influencers on social media and all that kind of stuff, is that your path is going to look different. It's okay to learn from other people. Please do that. Learn from other people, from their paths and what they're doing to be successful in life and in leadership and in marriage and everything. But also at the same time, be okay that their path is going to be different.
It's going to be way
It's
different.
going to be different. And quit trying to copy others so much that you miss what is happening right in front of you.
No, and there's some value in looking at winners, champions, and looking at their path and imitating some of that. There's some value in that. The problem is when you lock in on their path so much that you miss your path.
That's right.
You've got to see your path and what you're doing.
You'll miss what's right in front of you, man.
Yeah,
It's
and that's ultimately what happens. The reason why people don't become champions is because they're unable to focus. Those are some ways to get your focus. So you've got to be careful of the things that will cost you your focus or losing your focus, okay? You talked about that. You talked about looking at other people's path. Again, there's nothing wrong with looking at other people's path. The problem is when you look at their path and not your path. Right. Your path's got to be different. But the other thing is that sometimes when you have too many things you're focused on, you're not really focused. I can handle 5, 6, 7, 8 things. If I get into 20, 30 things, I'm not going to be a champion at them. That's just a fact. I've got to narrow it down. Again, my priorities help me do that. The other thing you have to be careful of is you have to be careful of what I call too much me, where you're the focus of everything. That is completely one of the worst things that champions can do, is when you make it all about you. If it's all about you, listen, first of all, you're not going to have any fun. Second of all, you're missing the entire point. And then there's a small one here that is not so small, but I want us to think about, and I want our listeners to think about. I know you're passionate about this, Kevin. We have to be careful that you need to understand that many of great champions have lost and been knocked down and fatal knockdowns because of bad choices, what we call low morals or low standard, lack of character. And a lack of character and a lack of morals will cost you your focus. You can be really focused on being a champion at something, but then your bad choices and bad habits can cost you your focus. And people have to be really, really, really careful about that. And we don't have to get on a soapbox and preach, although we're preachers, we don't have to do that. But I do want people to understand it would be lying if we said, oh, you'll be fine, just, no, I'd be lying to you. Champions, there are people who win championships who are not high moral character people. I get that. But understand, if you're truly going to be a champion and stay on top and be in the champion league, then you have to have a sense of understanding moral right and wrong.
I always think about a guy who, I can say his name just because it was so public. But Arkansas Razorback football was, 5-10 years ago, at one point was ranked number 3 in the nation.
Yeah.
And I mean, their head football coach, Bobby Petrino at the time, great football coach. In fact, they've redeemed him. He's back. He's the OC there now. But, I think about Bobby Petrino, head football coach. He's taken a program that in today's world, if this would have been in today's world, they'd be playing, at least contending for the national championship just because of the college football playoff, because they would have made the top, however many teams. And yet his loose and relaxed morals in a failure, I mean, he lost everything.
He lost everything. And think about, unfortunately, think about David in the Bible, King David. And everybody knows the story of David and Goliath. And man, here's a guy who takes a slingshot. I love what my friend Jay Strack says. He didn't think, look at the giant. He's too big to hit. David said, no, he's too big to miss. I got this. Incredible can do. And we'll talk about that. But I think about, but unfortunately, when we think of David, we do think of that, but we also think about Bathsheba. You take Bobby Petrino, you do think about a great mind in football, but you also think about him picture on the back of that, or on that motorcycle, with that young lady on the back of it.
I don't want anyone in my life to go, Kevin's a great guy, but
yeah, that's good. I love that.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
And that's what loose morals do. And I'll also say this when it comes to loose morals.
No, it doesn't mean we have to be perfect. Nobody's there. But it's
when
raise
you
your
have
bar.
a moral failure, that's that but in life, and I think that's the thing. When going back to what you said about David, David was a king. When he failed morally, what was really the major fail there? Yeah, he failed, he sinned, he did all those things, but he took one day and was lazy.
Yeah.
He was lazy. He said, you know what? I'm not going to go fight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to battle where I should be, where the king should have been. Mm-hmm. And he should have been doing what he should have been doing, leading his army. And that's going back to the champion's focus.
Yeah.
Is having a focus makes sure that you take these principles, these priorities, this plan, and every single day, you don't take a day off from these things.
That's good.
And I think that's so important for us that there, as a champion, there's no days off. Laziness can be your kryptonite if you're not careful.
Agreed.
And I think it's so important for us to stay focused.
I love it. So if the first trait is our focus, and there's so much more we could talk about it, but this just gives you a little taste of focus on what you want to win at. And then get after it with your principle, your plan, your path, your purpose, all those things, your priorities. And just go. And be careful about too much of it. So next podcast, we're going to come back together and we're going to talk about your attitude. I love this. Your attitude determines your altitude.
Come on, somebody.
And so we're going to talk about that next week.
That's going to be a good one because
I love it.
So many people are just one good attitude away from being a champion.
God, boy, that is a great statement right there for sure.
Come on.
All right, do we want to transition and do it?
I guess so. Y'all know, if you're listening to this, we're just two preachers and we just want to talk about a couple of different things. And so let me just throw this at you.
What you got for me today?
Did you see the big headline that happened just, I think, literally 2 weeks ago this happened. But Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs, tight end, gets engaged to the Taylor Swift.
Well,
and so the Swifties are going crazy, which this whole combination of football and Swifties is driving me crazy. But let's just not get on that soapbox. But they are engaged.
Yeah. Well, and let's look, Taylor Swift could go to a pickleball match and start supporting pickleball and be marrying a pickleball player, and pickleball would become world famous. So there is so many people now. Taylor Swift gave so many young girls, Swifties, the permission to watch football. So it's kind of funny.
It's so true.
Look, good for them.
Good for them. I support them. Go for it.
I hope they end up happily ever after.
Forever.
And don't shake it off. Go. So anyway,
don't shake it off. But man, this was a firestorm on social media. Probably not the best way to say that, but was literally everybody, the world just pushed pause for a second when these two got engaged on social media. And man, I watched so many people just, you read comments on social media and it's you get all different kinds of responses out there, and social media is a very powerful thing.
What bothers me with social media, Kevin, is I think it can be such a positive tool. We're using, podcasts is it social media? I mean, we use a ton of social media to inform and to push and to talk about all kinds of things. A lot of our preaching, a lot of the things that we do. So I think there's some great positive things about social media. The problem is all the negatives that come with it. And if people would just take a chill pill, that's an old guy saying, if they would just relax, think about what they're going to post before they post it. Then before they hit send, think about it again
I mean,
I didn't even get some advice.
In today's world, this is what's so funny about social media is people are so quick to respond on social media. Now celebrities that are so quick to respond to whether it be a political thing, a non-political, whatever it may be, is a lot of them, because they're too quick to respond, are having to go back and clean up on social media what they put on social media in the first place.
Well, or just jumping out and, I mean, look at Rosie O'Donnell with.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, that tragic shooting, and he was the opposite of MAGA. And then she have to come back. That's what, think before you post, and then think again before you post. And I would just say, here's what I would do. So think about this, Kevin. One of the tragedies of social media is the bullying that we see going on, and
it's so sad.
we got bullied. Bullying's been around forever. The problem is, and I want parents to hear me on this. You think, well, I was bullied. No, not to this level, because here's why. You got to go home to a sanctuary. You got to go home, hopefully, to a safe place. Now, not everybody had great homes, but at least you got to remove yourself from the bullying. These kids get home, get on their social media.
They never get away from it.
They never get away from it. And so that's why I would tell parents, give them a break. If they're not going to take a break from their phones, give them a break.
That's so good.
But just like bullying is a problem for our kids, I want parents to think about what they're doing online. And I think about the rants. I think about the incredible amount of people. Look, send us a picture of your food or something else, but don't get personal on there. Because listen, you're going to embarrass yourself.
You are.
And the thing is that's no place to attack someone. That's no place to. You go personally and confront somebody. Don't do it online, man. It doesn't do any good, and you look really, really silly. So I'm gonna say it a fourth, fifth, sixth time. Before you hit send on any of your social medias, think about it. And then before you hit send, think about it again. And just really think about the consequences. And do you really want to do this? And I would say just relax.
I heard a guy say this one time, and when it came to social media and all that, and he said most people think with their thumbs before they think with their head.
Golly.
And his point is that they're so quick to type something out and get it out there that they don't really think about the consequences. They don't think about those things. And you're right, is parents have the opportunity to really help their kids get away. Yeah. And get away from the bullying and get away from the difficulties that they faced at school. But I also, I think about the men that are on social media, is that you are one scroll away from really hurting yourself, your eyes, your heart, your mind, all those things. Pornography is not just a spiritual issue. It is a spiritual issue, but it's also a mental issue. It is hurting our culture in so many different ways. And here's, I think this is a good way to just wrap this up in a nice bow.
I want to jump in there. So think about Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, good friend of ours, was attacked because he said that he and his son hold each other accountable for pornography.
He was like brutally attacked.
Like, oh, he's a pervert. No, that's the complete opposite of what he's saying. And I guess what I would say to men is this: make sure that you understand and listen to what we're saying. It's not helping you. Pornography is slowly killing you. And it's no good for your marriage. It's no good for anything. Trust. So here's two preachers talking. We deal a lot with this, and the residual of it in marriages and guys' lives. So please, we're not experts at anything. Maybe give us this one. We know what we're talking about when we say pornography wrecks marriages, lives, everything. So
I've told guys it's worth going to a flip phone if it means you can get freedom from this stuff, because it's the truth.
I kind of missed my razor, if I'm being honest.
Man, those were such good phones.
Oh, they're great phones.
When it comes to social media, in all forms, whether it be responding to people, criticizing people. I don't even like when people go to a restaurant in town and criticize the restaurant, because what if they were just having a bad day? I don't know. Stay off of it. Post the things that matter. Guard your heart. Guard your time. I think social media sucks so much of our time away from our focus, our priorities.
Oh, that's good.
All those things.
You see what he did there?
Yeah,
That's
you like that?
Nice.
And so
Nice.
it does. And I think if people were to be honest with themselves and just go to that wonderful feature on the Apple, on your iPhones, and look at your screen time of how much time you're spending on these apps, guard your time. You would find yourself way more focused if you weren't on so many other things. Guard your heart, guard your time. But I'll also say this, guard your privacy. Guard your privacy. You know what? You've got one family. Build a wall of protection around that family and guard the privacy of what you allow in your home. I don't want culture to influence my family, and I'm not going to invite it in through the way of social media.
I'm not gonna air a grievance that I have out. One of the things that I can remember when my kids were younger, and a parent attacked one of my kids. It's a long story, but one of the things I was very careful about, I needed to talk to the parent. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to do it in front of a bunch of other parents. I didn't want to do it in front of anybody. I wanted to do it very privately so that we could talk as adults and make sure that we stayed out of the kid realm. And if parents would just be the adults and get out of the kid realm, it would help a lot. But I can remember thinking, the last thing I want is for this to be public. And people, when they go online and start chattering and attacking and being negative, it's so public. Stop with all of that. So again, here we go. Before you hit send, before you hit post, stop and think. And then again, before you hit send or post, stop and think again. And just think about all that it involves and the repercussions. And don't be controversial. Nobody's laughing with you, they're laughing at you. I'm trying to help people. Like, good night. You think you're you got so many likes and shares. Oh, you're so cool. No, they're laughing at you. Stop it. Yeah. So, all right, we can stop with all that. But anyway,
we do. Guard your heart, guard your time, and your privacy.
Amen.
Man, what a great conversation today on the Traits Podcast.
It's been good.
It's been a lot of fun. Yep. And you guys continue to like, share on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. You can watch us on YouTube. And then, of course, you can listen to us on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. And, man, we would love for you to help us get the word about this amazing podcast.
Yeah,
can't wait for next week.
About it. Yeah, tell your friends about it. That's the best thing you can do. Every podcast I listen to, somebody tells me about. So share it.
And hey, if you do want a copy of John's book, make sure you just shoot us a quick email, man. It'd be so easy. Email us at traitsofachampion@yahoo.com, and we'd love to get you one of those books in your hand. Hey, we'll see you next time on the Traits Podcast. Go be great.
God bless you. See you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Traits of a Champion podcast, helping you pursue the wins in life. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe. You can also follow along with us on Facebook, Instagram, or watch our episodes on YouTube.